What's up, everyone? We're just a couple days away from the start of the Supercross season. I'm getting pretty excited. I'm sure you guys are as well. Luckily, we kind of have a really good idea of all the 250 riders that are going to be lining up this weekend. Unfortunately, we still don't have every single rider confirmed. We've had a couple of injuries, which make things a little bit confusing, but mostly it's just the pro circuit guys who always seem to hold out to the last second. So what I'm going to go ahead and do for you guys today is we're going to go through a list of about 30 riders. We're just going to hammer through and kind of lay out exactly who we can expect to see racing this weekend. A couple of them are going to be rumors, not technically confirmed, but we pretty much know, and the rest are confirmed. So we do have a pretty deep field, not only in the 450 class, but also in the 250 class. The West Coast, as of right now, is looking a little bit more stacked than the East Coast, but the East Coast is going to be really interesting nonetheless. I'm going to go ahead and start out with the factory teams, but it might surprise you the depth that we have in the 250 class, even as we get, more towards those privateer riders on the satellite teams. I tried to go a little bit deeper than just the surface level top 10, 15 guys for you guys in case you are interested and you want to know exactly what it's going to look like. Just to be clear, these are not any type of rankings. I'm just trying to go through who we can expect to see at Anaheim 1. So starting at the top with Star Yamaha, obviously we know we're going to see Haiden Deegan out there. So there's been a little bit of talk this last few days about Haiden Deegan and his dad. He even mentioned that, well, we're probably going to have to go up to the 450s next year because of these new regulations that they're probably going to be bringing out next year. They're definitely going to slow down these 250s, and I don't really want to be a part of that. Now, personally, I kind of felt like Haiden was probably going to go up to the 450s next season anyways. I think that we might have seen him defend a Supercross title if he wins one this year, but it sounds like he might not actually race Supercross in the 250 class next season if that holds true. Now, we don't know for sure if any of these regulations are actually going to be kicking in 2026. Right now, it's just a rumor. If you guys aren't really sure what those rumors are, pretty much it sounds like they're going to try to lower the acceptable noise levels of the output of the bikes, and basically you're just going to have a much quieter bike, which theoretically should slow the bikes down. You would think that the 250s would suffer a little bit more than the 450s as they're already doing the most to try to get as much power as they can. So having to run a more aggressive muffler and things like that will definitely not help with that. So anyways, the theory with Haiden is that he hasn't raced a West Coast Supercross series. So if he's going to go full-time 450 next season, definitely going to be key for him to go out there and race the West Coast this year. Then behind him, we have his teammates, Michael Mosiman. So with Michael, it's really a question mark with him. He's definitely shown some really good speed at times. We haven't seen that in a couple of years now. He definitely was struggling at the end of his gas tenure. It was pretty exciting to see him join Star Yamaha last year, but that was very brief as he went out with an injury. It seems like he's been struggling with injuries ever since. So I really find it interesting that he is lining up for the West Coast. That's encouraging because that must mean he's relatively healthy, but that also could mean that they're just kind of thinking, well, he's not going to win, so send him with Haiden. Hard to say for sure if that's exactly what's going on. Going to be really interesting to see if he can do something. Definitely has the capabilities, but definitely a question mark. And as far as Cole Davies, we saw him come out and absolutely set it on fire on that gas in futures. To me, Davies seems kind of like a wild card. We could see something like we saw out of Julian Beaumer last season where he comes out, gets a whole shot and just absolutely shreds. Or he could just be a 10th and 12th place guy. Really hard to say, but either way, I'm excited for it. Moving on to the Triumph Racing team, a couple of guys that are really talented and I'm really excited to see. We have Austin Forkner and Jordon Smith. So Austin Forkner has been doing it for a long time. We did a video last year about him and all the ups and downs of his career. He's never completed a full Supercross season to this date. He was very close to getting a championship and finishing a season. I think it was in like 2020 or something like that when he ended up going to the final round with Ferrandis. And unfortunately, he crashed out of that race. He's been a title contender pretty much every season. He's almost gone through a full season a couple of times. He definitely can get it done. I'm excited to see that he's making some big changes to his program. This is the first time he's changed teams. Hopefully that makes a difference for him. He could be a real threat or he could crash out. Really don't want to see that. Really would like to see him at least get through the season. I definitely think he could be the one to take the fight to Haiden if everything goes right. I did pick him to win the championship last year, but I'm just having a hard time doing that this year with how good Hayden's riding And now that he's officially becoming a dad and things like that, it just seems like he's gonna probably want to play it safe at least a little bit. I'm not sure how capable he is of toning it down, but either way, it's going to be real exciting to see him on that Triumph. Him and Jordon Smith could both be race win contenders, and we did see Jordon Smith get the red plate on the West Coast last year, so he technically could be considered a title threat as well. Two really strong riders on the Triumph team. Then as far as the KTM team, obviously we're going to have Julian Beaumer back on the West Coast, as Tom Vial ended up winning the East Coast title, and he's going to be defending that. He absolutely came out swinging at Anaheim 1 last year, and he was looking really good at the end of SMX. So with a full off season of boot camp and training and stuff like that, can he come out and pick up right where he left off at last time he was at Anaheim 1 and maybe do something spectacular? He definitely lost some consistency as the season went on, but you have to remember that there was a lot of mud races and stuff like that that wasn't really conventional as far as traditional Supercross, and that could have kind of killed his momentum. He did have that nasty concussion in motocross, but for the most part, he completed the full season, so he definitely got some experience. Keep your eye out on him. Then as far as Honda, we're going to have Joe Shimoda. Obviously, Chance Hymas had that nasty ACL injury, and he's still recovering from his surgery. He is back on the bike, and it seems like he might be able to make a start on the East Coast. I definitely have my concerns with that. But right now, we're talking about the West Coast and Joe Shimoda. So with Joe, feels like he's been doing it a long time. Maybe not as long as Austin Forkner, but one thing's for sure is he has to get off to a good start to the season. It seems like he always gets off to a slow start, makes a mistake, can't really get inside the podium very much at the start of the season, and then he comes on strong later on. So it'd be really cool to see Joe get some hole shots and show us what he's capable of right off the bat. Personally, I don't think it's going to happen. I think the field is absolutely stacked this year, but either way, he's going to be out there at Anaheim 1. It's going to be cool to see him tearing it up. And then as far as gas, we're going to have Ryder Difrancesco out there. He's going to be looking a little bit different as it's now Rockstar gas, and he'll be wearing fly gear, no longer Troy Lee. So kind of weird, but as we all know, that whole KTM group, gas Husqvarna, is kind of struggling right now. Adjustments are being made, but either way, Ryder Difrancesco will be lining up as well. Now we're going to finish off these factory guys with some technically rumors, but we pretty much know type of thing. And obviously that means we're going to be talking about the Pro Circuit team. So it sounds like Pro Circuit is probably going to send two of their riders west, and that's going to be Levi Kitchen and Garrett Marchbanks. We saw both of these guys on the west last season. Garrett Marchbanks was obviously on Club MX, but we saw both of them ride very well. We saw Garrett Marchbanks almost look like he was going to contend for a race win in San Diego last year, and we saw Levi Kitchen basically almost wrap up that title before he collided with his teammate Cameron McAdoo. And we know that Levi Kitchen has been pretty vocal about wanting to go head-to-head with Haiden Deegan. So that's going to be an interesting dynamic right there. Just between Levi Kitchen, Haiden Deegan, and Austin Forkner, that's already a lot of talent at the front of the pack. And then all these other guys we've talked about can all get in the way as well. So I'm really excited to see how that's going to go. And I'm pretty excited to see exactly what Garrett Marchbanks can do on that Pro Circuit Kawasaki. I definitely have some concerns as far as him being able to get good starts, as he's a larger rider on a 250, but he seemed like he was doing relatively okay on that Club MX Yamaha last season. Never really ripped any hole shots, but he was able to manage. So maybe that Kawasaki, with a little bit of help from Pro Circuit, can get him towards the front of the pack and he can do some damage. But at the same time, with as deep as this field is, probably going to be tough. So maybe it could be a struggle season for him. Either way, I'm excited to see what can happen. And then one last rider that we have to talk about, who's not really confirmed, but we pretty much know is probably not going to be at Anaheim 1, is going to be RJ Hampshire. So while he hasn't come out and directly said it, he's pretty much said that he's probably not going to be able to race Anaheim 1. And unfortunately, he will not be defending his title. So while he hasn't completely 100% came out and said that he won't be there, he has said in his press conferences it doesn't look very good. And so far, we haven't heard that he will be there. So it looks like he won't be there, unfortunately, for RJ. But he could technically go and win an East title and be able to win one title on each coast. And that would be pretty cool. That'd be a great way for him to wrap up his 250 career as he heads up to the 450 class. He'll definitely have his competition on the East Coast if that's where he goes. But at this point, it seems like it would be an easier chance for him to go back to back. So if I was RJ, that's definitely the route that I would go. Now we're going to move on to some of the satellite teams, and most of these are also confirmed. A little bit of it is rumors, but I'm just going to go ahead and blow through it as we still have a lot of guys to talk about, and we're already pretty far into this video. So starting off with Club MX, all of these guys are confirmed. We have Coty Schock and Jett Reynolds. They're going to be out there. I'm pretty excited to see Coty Schock and what he can do. We saw him have a lot of success on the East Coast last year. Now you could argue that that was a slightly easier coast, but he did end up taking 3rd overall in the championship. So definitely not someone you can count out. I don't think he has the outright speed of most of these guys we talked about so far, but he definitely gets good starts and he's definitely consistent. And I don't think he's that far off in speed. So definitely someone to contend with. And then as far as his teammate, we haven't really seen Jett Reynolds race professional supercross very much. He was an absolutely highly touted amateur and he was on that pro circuit team as soon as he made his pro debut. And then he's just been absolutely riddled with injuries ever since. We did get to see him race the majority of motocross and SMX last season. He never really had any bad get-offs or anything wrong with that, but at the same time, he never really had any highlight reel moments. So hopefully he can get in there and start building a base and get some confidence going. We definitely know he's a capable rider, someone who could and should be inside that top 10. So keep an eye on Jett Reynolds. We haven't really seen him in Supercross. Probably not going to expect much of him at Anaheim 1, but as the season goes on, he might surprise you. Moving on to another Yamaha team, the Bar X Yamaha team. That's right, now they are a Yamaha team. They were the Bar X Suzuki team last year. They have a couple of riders. We have Anthony Bourdon and Derek Drake. So we saw Anthony Bourdon racing and he did really well last year. He was actually pretty consistent and up there in the points as well. And then we all know that Derek Drake is a very capable rider. So a couple more guys to keep an eye on there. Then we have the entire AEO Power Sports team going west with Avery Long, Lux Turner, and Talon Hawkins. So if you guys don't remember, Talon Hawkins was on that Factory Husqvarna team for a while. Unfortunately, he was not able to stick with it, and he ended up going to the AEO Power Sports team. But we saw last year he was able to do relatively a full season, and while there was nothing flashy, he is a very good rider and he was right there. So another guy that you really can't count out. Moving on to Solitaire Yamaha, we have a couple of riders on that team that are going to be going west with Derek Kelley, Cole Thompson, and Robbie Wageman. So actually a few of those guys, and they're all pretty good riders, well-established, consistent, I would say veterans of the sport at this point. Definitely adding some depth to that mid-pack range in the field. Then as far as Moto Concepts, that's the team that Vince Friese is on, and it sounds like they're going to be sending him West Coast on a 250. So maybe not for the full season. He is focused on trying to win that Arena Cross championship, but last time we saw Vince Friese on a 250, it was something to watch. And this man's coming from Arena Cross where he is basically targeting people, bumping into people, and riding like a maniac more than he already does. So if he does line up at A1 and he gets up front, man, just lock in and watch that guy. It could be a lot of fun to watch. And then it sounds like his teammate is going to be Noah Viney. He could be out there as well. I'm not sure why they're not sending Ryan Brees over there. Personally, I feel like he definitely should be out there on the Supercross circuit. So hopefully we get to see him at some point, but it doesn't sound like we're going to. Now this one's a little bit murky, but I'm going to go ahead and talk about it anyways. The Rock River Gizmo Mods Yamaha team. We have Marshall Weltin and TJ Albright. So we know that Marshall Weltin is going to Anaheim 1. The part that remains a little bit unclear is if it's going to be on a 250 or 450. We saw him race 450 motocross and 250 supercross last year. He's been practicing on a 450, but he's also talked about how his practice bike is a 450. So sounds like he might be racing 250. If so, that'll really add some more depth to the field. Either way, sounds like he's going, and his teammate TJ Albright will be over there as well. So a couple more guys to keep your eye on. And then we have the Partzilla PRMX team, and that's going to be Hunter Yoder. So another guy who's definitely capable of getting in the main event, definitely going to be right there on the border of being able to do that with this lineup that we're talking about, but definitely somebody to keep your eye on. And then we have the Host Grindstone Kawasaki team. So with this team, we have Max Sanford and Dylan Walsh. And I actually saw these guys in person out there riding at Hemet Supercross. If you guys didn't see my video, I did put it up on the channel a few days back. They're over there on New Year's Day, and I have to say that especially Dylan Walsh just looked comfortable and like he was ready to go racing. So I'm excited to see what he can do, and also his teammate. Max Sanford did earn himself a number last year, so you know that he is no slouch either. And then the last team we're going to talk about is going to be the Reno Power Sports Husky team. So we have a couple of guys who are supposedly going to be at Anaheim 1, and that is Slade Varola and Brock Bennett. We saw Slade Varola last year, and you know, he's going to be one of those guys in the LCQ trying to battle for the last slots into the main event. Definitely someone who can get it done. And then Brock Bennett, I'm not really sure what to expect out of him as far as Supercross, but we did see him coming on relatively strong at the end of motocross, and he was starting to get into points, and he did earn himself the final number of 99. So definitely somebody who's probably going to be struggling to get into the main events, but definitely somebody who's trying to build a career, and I thought it would be worth mentioning. So that is 30 guys who are pretty much confirmed, except for RJ Hampshire, who is basically confirmed to not be racing Anaheim 1, that we went ahead and talked about. Tried to go a little bit in depth for you guys, so that way you could really get a clear picture of what to expect. It's really hard to do this as far as the 250 classes, especially going into Anaheim, as most of these guys are not very clear on what they're going to do. Even the ones that are clear, it seems like they do hold out for quite a while. I really do appreciate the teams like Club MX and Triumph and even Star Yamaha, who just come out and directly say what riders are going where. It's really cool, and it gives us something to talk about and look forward to. And for guys who are actually going to be buying tickets, at least you know what you're buying tickets for at Anaheim 1. I understand Mitch Payton's philosophy on not wanting to, you know, reveal who's going where. He's been pretty vocal about the fact that the guys who think that they're going to go east, that get told at the last minute that so-and-so got hurt and now they're going west, tend to panic and feel like they're underprepared because they thought they're going to the East Coast. So he just lets everyone think they're going to go west and tells them at the last second. I get it, but it's frustrating for everybody else, and it's probably frustrating for the riders as well. So anyways, Mitch, it would be great if you could just tell us what your plans are, and if you need to change them, we get it. We love you, but if you could just please stop doing that, we would really appreciate it. But that's going to go ahead and do it for this video. We're going to be doing this all season long. I'm going to be bringing you guys updates throughout the season. If you haven't already, definitely make sure you subscribe. It really helps me out, and I appreciate it so much. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.